Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Shock America. Welcome to a Victory Monday on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Richard. Join me as always, co-host Jack. Jack, Glück auf.
You're too predictable. Joseph had it in the chat already. Victory Monday on a Tuesday. He had you locked in.
He knows. He
Yeah.
knows.
Here we are. Interesting game to talk about despite, pretty comprehensive scoreline. So looking forward to getting into this one with you, but we keep rolling, which is what we wanted to see. Briefly for a portion of the weekend held the top of the table status, currently in second place behind Elversberg at the moment. But for a bit there after the Friday, we were on top, and that felt nice.
It did. Let's get into the rundown tonight because we've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we are going to do a match recap. We're going to do things a little differently tonight. We're going to do a match recap. We're going to talk about our 4 talking points from the match, and get into some other bits. What a former referee had to say about the drama that unfolded from the weekend, and talk about what happened afterwards and what we got to look forward to. So a lot to get into in this one. First and foremost, we win. We win 3-0 on the road against a team that is verifiably a promotion candidate in Hannover 96. Goal scoring started in the 3rd minute. Gantenbeim kind of sets it up with a cross into the box. Keenan Carmen, nice layoff to Moussa Sylla for the goal. He breaks out of his shell. Just 11 minutes later, Moussa Sylla scores again off of a set piece. Some controversial plays, both on either side of the half. None doesn't matter. 85th minute, Gomis comes in, scores a goal. We win 3-0. Lots to get into in this one, Jack. First, let's get into the lineups to see what we thought of it. Obviously, you look at Hannover 96's lineup. Null in goal for them. He's a pretty solid goalkeeper, though didn't start out that well for him, right? In defense, they had Gita, Tomiak, Blanc. Midfield 4 of Matsuda, Taibi, Leopold, Neubauer. With up top, you got Rotkeld, Chalman, and Bundu. For me, Jack, Matsuda and Leopold are 2 names that I've known about who I was always going to be worried about. What about you in terms of Hanover? Anybody that jumped to you that maybe you're going to be worried about heading into this game?
Leopold's the name I'm most familiar with. I mean, I know going into this one, striker Kalman or whatever his name is, he's the leading scorer going into the season, so he was someone to keep an eye on. And Matsuda's, a dangerous player as well. I think Matsuda was involved at the near post on the second goal that Schalke conceded potentially. Outside of those guys that you mentioned, nothing for me.
And then looking at our lineup, I think the main thing, the lineup didn't change. We talked about this before the international break, how we weren't quite done with Moussa Sylla. We thought he's still our striker. We need to give him to at least the end of the month to see if he can get out of it. We hope that he would go away in international break, somehow regain his form. We know he doesn't play many minutes for Mali, but sometimes you go to international with your countrymen and you find your form again. And lo and behold, he gets the lineup and scores a brace. Lineup didn't change. It's nice to see Antuaje get the run again. Thoughts on the lineup for us?
Yeah, I think Antuaje being back in there is maybe the most notable thing, arguably, just because he's kind of been in and out. Over the course of the season, we haven't really fully gotten a cemented front 3 as much as we might in other areas of the pitch. But yeah, I mean, I think that was, I agree with you. The talking point that we said was Sylla obviously has not been up to standard this season based on what we come to expect from him from his debut season with us. But we talked about it, potentially it's, he was expecting to move all summer long probably. And that fell through kind of late. And, you wonder if it just takes a little bit to kind of resettle, reposition and kind of get back into things. Who knows? Maybe I'm making excuses for, a player, whatever. But like we said, there's no reason he should be this bad in terms of his goal production. Like a player doesn't just fall off like that for no apparent reason. Hopefully this is the start of a run of good form for him. To get that out of this in addition to the win was, I think, huge, was getting him on the score sheet and twice within the first, 15, 20 minutes or so.
So I think that's a good segue. Talking about Moussa Sylla as our first talking point, really, because I think the most critical talking point obviously was the lightning quick start that we had. Obviously 2 goals from Moussa Sylla within the first 15 minutes of the game. I think to start off the game, we knew Hannover 96 is a team that likes to possess the ball. They're very good. They're a very good team in general. But I think the intense high pressing immediately like threw them out of their comfort zone. Like it's like they almost didn't expect it from us. And the fact that we didn't change our starting 11, the synergy that led up to the Gantenbeim to Karaman to Sylla. I love that drop off by Karaman to Sylla. It just we caught them by surprise. It seemed like Jack, and you love when Sylla gets off the slide in a big way as he did.
Yeah, I mean, like we're 8 or so games into the season, so you would think that teams would kind of be expecting the early pressure from us, but obviously it's harder to cope with, than it appears, and we've done a good job of that in recent matches. I forget what other match I'm thinking of, but I know there was another one where similarly we had pressure kind of on the goalkeeper around the box early in the match that led to a turnover and a goal. Here you said Moussa Sylla's opener. It comes from essentially a back pass to the keeper, a kind of hurried pass out to a defender who, has a bad touch on it, tries to kind of clear it blind. And then it's, a couple incisive passes and we're on the board. And, finding a way to manufacture chances from those sorts of things, from those sort of, the actions off the ball, especially early in the match, when we have our fresh legs under us and really maximizing, some of the results of that pressing. We've been doing a really good job of that. So that's huge. And like we said before, I think last podcast, even like, it wasn't just how bad we were playing overall, but it's how consistently we were falling into a ditch at the beginning of matches, which is just so much harder to overcome psychologically and for a number of other reasons. And so to get some of these leads early in matches has just been a welcome relief, I think, this season for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that, the fact that not only that we scored 3 minutes into the game and Moussa Sylla scored as well, but I think, we talked about how the pressing isn't the all-out Gegen pressing that we thought maybe, but it's a timely pressing. And in this case, it caught Hannover by surprise for whatever reason it was. I thought we looked really good early on. And one of those guys that's a key Muslic guy, it appears like, is Gantenbeim, where he does the press really well. And then when he gets the ball, he has at times created really well. And, the great cross into the box to find Karaman. It was key. And it threw Hannover by surprise. And I think, obviously, you give up an early goal, you're going to be reeling a little bit. And Schalke kept the pressure on. That was my worries, that we was going to score a goal. And I think Eric in the Discord was even like, okay, 85 minutes of 85 minutes of playing defense, but no, we kept attacking, and I love seeing that, because if we went to the defensive mode right away, sure enough, Hannover would have had a million percent of possession, but we kept attacking. They were still reeling and got that second goal. That second goal was very calamitous, where it's coming off a set piece. It seemed like everybody misses the ball and it falls to Moussa Sylla. Smartly, he hits it off the ground and makes it more difficult for the defender, and it goes in. So fantastic start. I thought the first 15 minutes we looked really good. Any cause for concern in the first 15 minutes, or how do you feel about the first 15 minutes? Obviously, 2 goals are a good thing.
I mean, yeah, not a ton. I thought it was mostly one-way traffic the first 15 minutes or so. And I thought, I mean, not this is like a unique concept or anything that hopefully shouldn't have to be coached, but I thought you saw this, I think, on both. We'll get to the goal in the second half, but both of those goals in around the box. And you've seen it a number of times this season. Is like there's thoughtful positioning, I think, of players on some of these set pieces, where there's people in position to receive flick down headers, and be in position for those second chance opportunities on some of those. And so I think it's nice to see the payoff of those things early on as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was great to see that. Once we're up 2-0. I was hoping that we would continue it on, but obviously we didn't go with kind of that format. I think, kind of saying on this Moussa Sylla kick, it shows that you even said it before, like hopefully he builds off of this, right? We've seen it many times before where a guy who doesn't get any goals gets a couple goals, get hope, and then disappears again. But he seemed to have his confidence back, at least for that game. I don't know if you saw his reaction, with his ears. There was this great shot. I don't remember if it was the first goal or second goal, but he scores the goal and he points right at Muslic, and Muslic points right back at him like, "Thank you for the confidence." That's what I got from the picture. I think, obviously having on the second goal where, Katic not Katic, it was Schallenberg who got the header. That was actually the last goal. Sorry, Katic in the first one who kind of deflected it. But Sylla, being in and around the box. Just keep doing what you got to do. We saw this so many times with Timo Tordo in the past where it seems quiet for a long time, and all of a sudden he just pops up and starts scoring goals, regains form. Hopefully, this is a sign to come. I think it's kind of this almost validates Muslic's faith in Sylla, right? Because I'm sure he's been getting a lot of criticism. Like, why are you keeping this guy playing if he's not scoring?
Would you mean our faith in Sylla? Come on.
Our faith in Sylla too. Well, I didn't want to say just us, but yeah, no, for real. Like, Musa's got to feel very happy that the fact that his striker is scoring the goals now. Thoughts on where we go forward with Sylla? Do you see it continuing? Because it's a confidence is a shaky thing, especially for a striker.
I mean, I don't think we really had many, signs that his position was in serious jeopardy. I think it was more just a talking point because everyone's kind of looking around, being like, what's going on? This guy isn't what he was last season, and at some point we got to look for options. But yeah, I mean, he is going to be your first choice guy. He should be, and here he pops up and basically wins you the game in the first couple minutes of the game. So, there's not other people involved in that, but but huge. Hopefully that gives him more confidence. Didn't look like he was, lacking much of it after the first one that went into the back of the net. You know what I mean? He was, celebrating like his normal self. So I think he's probably going to be fine. But no, regardless, I think it's good for the team too. I think it's good for the team morale too. I mean, not that it's not
weight
nice
off the shoulders.
Not when the goals are spread around and other people are getting a chance to kind of get involved on the score sheet. But like fundamentally, like you want your guys that are supposed to be doing that kind of cooking, and that gives the whole team a lift when you feel like Sylla's in a groove too. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of cooking, Med Hunter said, "Have you seen the All Access episode where Karaman gives his pregame speech in English?" I did watch it. I was gonna show it tonight, but I was like, whatever. People can watch it on their own. But like, we've seen his speeches in German, and he like fires up the team. And we noticed, obviously, under Muslic, a lot more English is spoken in the locker room. Not as many German speakers, or not everyone's a German speaker, I should say. So to see Karaman give his speech in English, I was surprised because like, oh, okay. I guess he's just following in the coach's footsteps, but yeah, it was a pretty good speech in English too. He can do it German, English, Turkish. Doesn't matter the language. I guess he could do it. I was inspired at least, but I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Jack.
I did not, but I'm gonna have to check that out now, for sure. I'm also interested in the comment subsequent to that in the chat, which is kind of what I want to get in with you as well as we move into the second, not really even the second half, but kind of after that first 20-minute period, where I feel like everything kind of flipped on its head immediately. In terms of kind of game control and whatnot. There were, I don't know how many of these notes that you have and how many of these you want to go through, but like there were a number of opportunities where it looked like Hannover had gotten in behind, had beaten us, had scored in some situations, and we just got let off the hook repeatedly. To some extent, I feel like that's, credit for being well drilled defensively in terms of being able to actually maintain a line in some of these situations, but it seems very sketch, and it seems like we're inviting a lot of pressure. And I mean, it's clearly a winning formula at the moment, but I'm wondering if you feel like it's sustainable or whether or not we're kind of getting lucky, if this is going to come back down to earth, how you're feeling about things.
I very much, and I've said this a couple times already this season, the feeling is very much Tedesco 2.0, where especially that year that we finished in second place, where defensively sound, but we were living and dying by the set piece. Here we're living and dying by Karius making a save or somebody making a timely save. I mean, this is a perfect segue into the next talking point because, like, yes, Karius got another clean sheet. I mean, it's fantastic. He has more clean sheets this year than we've had in the last, 5 years, which is crazy, right? And, the back three of Katic, Kurchai, and now Ayhan in place of Becker, it's working in terms of winning. But you mentioned it. We got let off the hook. In the 10,000-foot view, we win 3-0 against a team that's contending for promotion. Fantastic win. Obviously, for those who didn't see my reaction, go watch it after the game. It's a great to have 3 points against a team like this. But you look at the game and we're up 2-0, and they scored 2 goals. To your point, against us with sloppy defending, both times offsides just by a hair, but there were correct calls. But our team just gets cut wide open, right? And so we got spared blushes there in the first half. Come out the gate in the second half, all of a sudden potential penalty was called where, Vitaly Becker did a handball and went to VAR. We survived that, Somehow they said it was not a penalty, and we'll get more into that with Manuel Grafe a little bit later, but didn't call the handball on us, so we escaped there. And then the 63rd minute, they score again. It's Mustafa Bundu again, second time he scores a goal, or did he? And for like 5 to 10 minutes, Jack, I didn't know why that wasn't a goal. And then finally, they showed a replay of the goalpost where it went like inches wide of the post and somehow went back into the net. But to your point, those are 4 key opportunities where they should have scored a goal against us, and by luck, Glück auf, we escape. So yes, I'm with you. I think we are playing with fire. It's working, but there's clearly things we have to fix. And I will say this before I give it over to you, before I shut up. Sometimes you worry when you go on these win streaks. They'll get to everyone's head because everything's going so well. We don't have that issue right now because Moussa's got to drill to their heads like, look, we are lucky to be where we're at. Yes, we're winning, but we've made some grave errors that we've been lucky with so far. We have a lot to clean up still. We are not there. We're not there offensively. Defensively is better than the attack, but we have a lot to fix here right now. The only decent part right now that's the least controversial is the goalkeeper. What about you?
I agree. To me, this feels at the moment. This feels like a top 5 team. It doesn't necessarily feel like a top 2 team or even a top 3 team. And I think Karius has been great, and to his credit, didn't have much to do for the first 20 minutes, and then immediately was kind of pressed into action after that and made a nice save. He was alive to danger in a number of situations where he came out early on counters where like there was a long ball played ahead that could have gotten us into danger, but he came out and kind of snuffed that out. So credit to him for, even though he's playing in the second division with a lead against an opponent, he's like still locked in. Should be your professional, but you know what I mean? No, but he's been great. I mean, there's been saves that he makes every game that he probably shouldn't make. Once again, whether or not that comes down to earth over the course of the season remains to be seen. I know, but I think his post-shot XGs, the numbers there are pretty wild. So we'll see. It does seem like we are the 5 goals that we've conceded, which is the best in the league, by the way. We have the best defense in the league now after this week, definitively. Yeah. That does seem like that's probably a little bit of an overperformance, given some of the chances that we've conceded or allowed to kind of happen because we've seen a number of matches where there's been some sketchy moments that we've somehow gotten away with. It's nice to be the beneficiary of that luck, because we've been plenty of seasons where it never goes our way ever, including VAR decisions. And here was one where we're just kind of inexplicably, so we'll talk about the penalty too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to be too much of a downer. I know it's a 3-0 win, but watching this game, I was just kind of we need to keep the foot on the gas. We need to keep trying to tighten some things up, because I think that luck could shift. And if there's a couple games where you're conceding 2 goals a game or whatever, this could kind of change a little bit. So, but yeah, I mean, I love the momentum that we're maintaining for the moment.
Yeah, it's good and bad that's going on right now. I feel like we are second on the table to Elversberg, who got a resounding 6-0 win this weekend. They have the second best defense in the league, but they have the best offense in the league. I feel like we played Elversberg right now, our next match, our weaknesses would get exposed, I think, which is, showing the difference, I think, between first and the rest of the league. Obviously, Elversberg came super close to getting promoted last year, and they obviously have a goal. It's going to be interesting with such a small team that if they do get that, what happens, because they have a lot of enhancements to make, but that's another team. Yeah, there's a lot of things to work on defensively, to a Singer Flugschwitzer im Abseits comment about, after the second goal, we essentially went to a defensive shell and gave Hannover all that possession, thus all those chances that they created. We barely had the ball. We were absolutely playing this park the bus mentality and then take chances when we had it, but it wasn't many. And that was worrisome for me. That works if it's late in the game and you got a lead, or you just took the lead, but 85 minutes to go or 75 minutes to go, it's way too early to make a defensive shell. Now, I don't know if that's Muslic instructing the guys, so let's go in the defensive shell, or Hanover waking up. I don't know what it is, but that's concerning to me that a team can have that much possession, be that dominant in the second half, or first half and second half, like you said, it could easily go down the toilet if they start converting these. And you look at the possession. We started out the game, and you can barely see on the screen here, but in the left, we had a lot of possession early on. We got that goal, and then it's all Hannover basically rest of the match. And we need to improve that aspect 100% because we have been playing with house money, and it's like I said, we've kind of maybe deserved the good luck as of from the last 5-6 years or whatever, but it's eventually going to come back. It's eventually going to come back and bite us. So we need to figure it out. But I think the one shining light or the silver lining in all this is that Karius has been playing well. He has been stepping up. He made a great, as you mentioned, save on Bundu, breaking that up. And at times he does what he needs to do to at least slow the play down and either get a yellow or be on the borderline of getting a yellow. I think he's been a calming influence back there, but it's still, that's the one silver lining at the moment, at least for this game, because it was pretty shambolic, I think, overall, in what we gave up with all that possession.
And the possession is one thing, and like I'm willing to give Muslic the benefit of the doubt on that a little bit more, just in terms of stylistically that being like a winning formula. It was more just like in this game, I thought there were just too many big chances that we conceded, or that looks like they could have gone against us. And there's been a couple matches like that where it felt like, we were fortunate, especially in like, and I know it's easy to be like, well, imagine if we didn't score and they did. It's like, okay, you can say that about any game, but I mean, like, especially when the goals that we are creating are coming from capitalizing on those high pressure moments and that energy early in the match. If we aren't able to capitalize on that, and then we have to kind of back off that pressure, but it's 1-0 or it's tied, like how does that look for the rest of the match? It's a kind of a different feeling and a different, So I think there's still a lot that we can work on, in possession offensively over the course of the season, which is what I've been kind of shouting from the beginning of the year. And that would, make me feel better going into it. But the fact that we can, bend and not break, does seem to be something of a skill. I'm just concerned about how like overinflated it may be. But
I agree. Let's talk the Tally Becker penalty in the 46th minute. What was your observation upon the whole fiasco that happened there?
So I mean, like that's the kind of play that to me is always kind of a clear-cut pen, and like even though it's not intentional, it would happen to us, and I would just assume that it's immediately going to be a penalty. I'm not entirely sure why the VAR decided to get involved and tell the ref that he maybe made a mistake and that he needed to go look at it, because it was called a penalty originally, was it not?
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know why they thought that was like a clear and obvious error. I don't know if that's the threshold in the Bundesliga, but like usually for them to get involved, they have to think that like, like a mistake has been made or something. And I was shocked that it got overturned. I was shocked that he went and looked at it, and I'm shocked that it got overturned. Now, I guess I don't know what the argument was, or if there's been some sort of official explanation from the Referees Association or whatever afterwards, but like I don't know if it was that because the ball was kind of going almost like directly at the side of the player, and his arm was also there, that it's really not any different than if it had just hit his side. It wasn't like away from his body and you know what I mean? As opposed to like It's being shot at you and your arm's over here and the ball's 3 feet away from your body. You know what I mean? Maybe that was why they went with that. Like it would have hit him regardless. It didn't matter that it was on his arm was there. It would hit his torso, would hit his side. Outside of that, I can't even understand what the argument would have been unless they're really saying, hey, natural arm position, totally unintentional. But like I feel like that's gone against us many times before anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was not only a handball; it was a double handball because it hit his front hand and his back hand. And they kept showing the replay and once they went to VAR, and you're thinking, okay, it's gonna get overturned for some reason, it's gonna get overturned for some reason. And I'm watching the replay, and I was like, well, maybe to your point, they thought his first arm was to the side, and then it bounced off of that and hit his other arm. And I've seen plays before where it hits your part of your body and then hits your hand and they don't call a penalty. I'm like, maybe they thought that, but I'm like, it looked pretty clear and obvious that it was a penalty. His reaction looked like it was a penalty. Everybody was like, oh crap, here we go. And then it was just like, oh no, it's not, And then what sucks even more for Hannover, after they hear that, the referee is piddling around for 5-10 minutes trying to get his headset fixed because it somehow broke, whatever. So it is more agony for them. They're like, what the fuck?
Stoppages in this one for sure.
Oh my god, both halves were like 10 minutes, I think, extra at a time. So yeah, I think majority of people are in agreement that this probably should have been a handball against us. Now, as we did last podcast, it's been great because our favorite referee Manuel Grefa is now on Twitter and he's commenting in all these Bundesliga games about what he sees and what he's retired now, so he can say whatever the hell he wants. So he did comment on this penalty from Vitaly Becker. So he goes to say, and I'll translate to English for most of our speakers are English here. He goes, the 2-0, the penalty for Hannover, catastrophic wrong decision forced by VAR. The actual correct decision is twisted into the wrong one. So kind of what you were saying. This way the referee comes under fire completely unnecessarily, bitter for everyone. He continues on, says, after inquiries, and if you look at the pictures, let me see if I scroll down a little bit. There you go. This is what I mean by making yourself big, both arms out. So you're saying Vitaly Becker did this intentionally. In the past, this was already considered a lack of foresight and thus negligent or intentional if you spread both arms wide before a cross. Otherwise, you can make yourself bigger with every cross and get away with it. The second contact alone would be okay to let play continue. Talk about the second hand. And like with that, I've seen it before where it hit body part and deflected off. But he said, as if it happened here, both contacts in the game weren't called. You'd have to consider whether it's blatantly wrong for an intervention or if you can let it slide. There would be arguments for this, as explained in the video, but to switch from a whistle to no whistle means, was it indefensible? No, it's wrong that a whistle is considered indefensible. Rather, it's arguably more correct decision, and this is a completely wrong VAR intervention. For him, it's a clear penalty, as it was obviously for the referee and then Schalke players too, which you could tell from their natural reaction, acceptance of the decision. So he's essentially confirming everything that we're saying, that yes.
Yeah, it seems like he's saying that there has to be like an obvious correction of something that was going on potentially, and yeah, I'm surprised they viewed it that way as well. And I was confused when it got overturned. Yeah, and that just to me confirms that I don't understand handball and probably never will for the rest of my life. It's never going to make sense. It's always going to be subjective. I mean, I don't know.
For everyone who always worried about, the game is getting too technological, we're relying too much on VAR and this and that, it's like, no, there's always going to be human side, and this is clear proof where let's intervene for no reason at all, and yeah, it's head scratching to say the least. But yeah, I mean, I think majority of everyone think this should have been a penalty, and we got away with one, like we did with the 2 offside goals in the first half, and then the near goal in the second half as well in the 63rd. So, before I get to the kicker 11, thoughts on Gomis getting his first goal?
Yeah, that was the other big thing. Like outside of Sylla obviously getting his brace and your talisman kind of getting back and going, the other sort of big offensive or more attacking minded, signing that you make right before the deadline finally gets off and going in this one as well. So both of those things in one, in addition to the comprehensive win, I think makes it, a pretty great day overall. And once again, kind of similar with sort of a flick down situation and a player back post, heading it in and making an effort, kind of the reverse of the Sylla one, a little bit more acrobatic from Gomis there, but love to see it.
Looked like the goal was going to go in from Schallenberg, but I don't think he's going to really care as long as we win. And hey, if Gomis gets hot off of this coming off the bench, it might be a good thing to see. So good to see it. I know in the game they kept saying it was Katic with the header, but it was clearly Schallenberg. It was this number 6. It wasn't a 26. It was a 6. So good for Gomis and the team, obviously, to get a 3-0 win. Typically in these things, you want to see how was any performance worthy of being in the kicker 11. Well, we had 2 performances. Obviously, Moussa Sylla was going to be 1 with his 2 goals, but also Nikola Katic was as well with his defensive play for the non-goals. He made good plays overall. Any qualms with those 2 insertions in the kicker best 11 there?
No, I don't think so. I'd put Karius up there with Katic as well. I thought Karius had a really nice game.
I agree.
And while I don't think that this player had a game anywhere near that level, I did want to shout out once again. And we kind of talked about it earlier. Like, thought it was a solid performance from Gattenbein as well. Again, And you're beginning to understand the last few weeks, like why Sylla, I mean, not Sylla, but why Muslic trusts him a little bit, and the utility that he has in the system with some of the actions that you're seeing from him now. Anyway, but yeah, I would say Karius, outside of those two.
Well, this brings me to my last talking point. Obviously, the win against Hannover, it was a strong team, a promotion contender, winning 3-0 at their home. It's got to be a huge psychological statement for the team and a sign that at least we can compete with the teams. We're not going to get blown out. Good momentum. We're now, like I said, momentarily we were top of the table. We're still at the top. We're in second place. Best defense in the league. Confidence has got to be high. Team spirit's got to be high. You saw in practice the guys are having fun, even with Muslic, goofing around over there. They're loving it. We got a big Topspiel clash against Darmstadt, who's third in the table, I believe, coming up this week. And we actually got them in back-to-back games because we got the DFB Pokal after the league game. So we got them twice within a week. It's going to be an interesting game against them.
That's the kind of thing that I felt like only happened in like career mode in FIFA.
I know, right?
And not actually in real life, but I kind of hate that.
It happened to, was it last year or the year before we did Braunschweig with back-to-back weeks where we didn't win games. So.
And maybe we had. No, I'm trying to think if we had one against Bielefeld too a couple years ago, but they may have been in the second division when we played them. But yeah, another kind of top end of the table clash kind of coming up for us. So no time to kind of celebrate too hard over that Hannover victory. I'm feeling pretty good about things at the moment, though. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's like really like changed fundamentally. The concerns that I've had about this squad kind of remain what they are, but like we have the best defense in the league, and while I think that's a little bit overperformance, I legitimately believe in what Muslic is doing from a coaching standpoint. I think we look collectively better. I think there's players that also individually look better as well, which is another really good sign and a really positive sign of like the coaching that's going on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it could be fun match to watch.
Should be good. And Michael says, let's be honest, took our chances. They didn't. We were not dominant, but we got the win. I think that's the most important thing. I agree with Asynchroner. Kurchai was important again. He's arguably our best defender at present, and I'm with you. Do we look dominant? No. Do we look like a team that has it all figured out? Absolutely not. We have some glaring weaknesses, but we're getting the job done. We got the best defense of the league, despite the overachieving. And our top striker just scored 2 goals. So, we're not there yet. And the fact that we're still in second place with a lot of room and improvement to do, it gives me optimism. If we were hitting on all cylinders and second from the bottom table, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? So hindsight's 2020, I guess. But I'm feeling confident. It's going to be a big week against Darmstadt. I hate these back-to-back games, just especially when you're playing the same team, because you think you have it figured out and you don't. And go back to the Braunschweig game where we beat them in the league, 3-1 or something like that. We're like, oh, we're going to beat them. And then they beat us in the Pokal, or maybe it was vice versa. I think we won the Pokal and they won the league. So whatever happened in that first game doesn't mean it's going to happen in the second game. So we got to make sure we're prepared both games equally. I don't know if both games are one's at home, one's away. It is what it is. But yeah, that's talking points I had for tonight. Game is this weekend. Obviously, I don't have it top front of my head, but I know we play this weekend. Any other comments from you from this game or in general?
No, just yet another double victory for me. Chicago Bears winning again, Schalke winning again. A couple little winning streaks going on for both those teams. So it's been a fun time for me recently.
Yeah, definitely agree with him. Definitely a good job with that for sure. My team is the opposite, quite the opposite in the NFL. Ben Hunter says, I think we should all get rid of the idea that the team with the most possession wins. That's true. And then our precedent at the beginning of the match just causes chaos at our position for too long. Yeah. So let's see what happens. I typically hate Friday games because historically we've been bad. This year we've been good. We just had one 3-0 win against Hannover this past Friday. Well, we got another Friday game this Friday against Hannover, 12:30. We are at home, and then the following game will be Pokal game is going to be at Darmstadt on Wednesdays. So Friday, Wednesday is a doubleheader there. So home on Friday, away on Wednesday to Darmstadt, doubleheader there. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Gluk auf. Thanks for everyone that jumped in the chat tonight. Lively commentary for sure. We love having you guys there. Let us know how you like the slight deviation in the format tonight's episode. But Jack, where can our followers find you?
At JMMangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
I thought you were going to do the Bears handle there for a second. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. But more importantly, follow Schalke America all across social media. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Facebook, whatever, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Definitely do that. Who cares about the Macau? Michael says. Look out. All right, everyone. Enjoy the week. We had a long victory Monday, extended into a Tuesday. Got a game this Friday, and hopefully we're keep this train rolling. I love the trajectory we're at the moment, but long way to go. So let's pump the brakes there a little bit. All right. For Jack and myself, everyone in the chat, thanks again. Gluk auf, and we'll catch you guys soon.